Hi, I am about to tell you a story about the Happy Prince. So, are you ready? Let's begin. Once upon a time, in a grand city, stood a magnificent statue of a prince, all covered in gold leaves. The prince was known as the Happy Prince, because he was always seen with a broad smile on his face. His eyes were two big sapphires, and a large ruby adorned his sword hilt. Everyone who passed by the statue admired the prince's beauty, and people often stopped to take pictures with it. However, the Happy Prince had a secret. He was not really happy. Instead, he was very sad because he could see the suffering of the people of the city, and he wanted to help them. One day, a little swallow, who was on its way to Egypt, perched on the prince's shoulder and heard his story. The swallow was a kind-hearted bird and decided to stay and help the Happy Prince. The prince asked the swallow to help him distribute his riches among the poor and needy people of the city. The swallow agreed and began to pluck out the gold leaves from the prince's body and distribute them to the poor. As the days went by, the Happy Prince began to feel lighter and lighter. He was happy to see that his gold was being put to good use, and the people were finally getting some relief. The swallow worked tirelessly to distribute the gold, and the prince would tell him where to go and whom to help. One day, the prince saw a poor seamstress crying because she had accidentally spilled her basket of needles on the ground, and she couldn't finish her work. The Happy Prince asked the swallow to take the ruby from his sword hilt and give it to the seamstress. The swallow did as he was told, and the seamstress was overjoyed. She finished her work and sold it for a good price. However, as the days went by, winter began to set in, and the swallow began to feel cold. The Happy Prince could see that the bird was shivering and asked him to stay for the winter. The swallow agreed and decided to stay with the Happy Prince. One cold and stormy night, the swallow finally froze to death. The Happy Prince was heartbroken and cried tears of gold. He had lost his dear friend, but he knew that the swallow had helped him make the people of the city happy. In the end, the city decided to melt down the statue of the Happy Prince and use the gold to help the poor. But as they did, they found the broken heart of the Happy Prince, which was still made of lead. They could not melt it down, so they placed it in the city's museum. From then on, the people of the city remembered the Happy Prince and the little swallow who had helped him, and they knew that even in death, they had made a difference.